What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the summer series on the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name is Ben Reeve. I'm joined today on the podcast, on the show, by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Paul James. Welcome, Paul.
We're calling ourselves Media Network Evening Content, Hannah. That sounds too professional for what we are. Well,
you got to aim high. You got to believe in yourself before you take that next step. Now, next to Paul on your screen is a good friend of the channel, actually. He's been on our post-game live show, I reckon about 20 times, but his name is Kiri. How you going, mate?
G'day, Ben. G'day, Paul. It's a pleasure to be back on the show once again. And let's talk about football.
As we're recording this, I believe, and it may not be exactly accurate, but I think it's around 60 days before the season's out. So we're dating this episode a little bit here. And it is a hot summer's day in Victoria. But welcome, everyone. If this is your first time, thanks for watching. If you like what you see at the end, if you stick around that long, hit that subscribe button. Give us a like. It always helps the algorithm and all that. All right, so we've got 3 topics to get through today. The first topic is all about rules. The theme of the show, I should say, is all about rules today. We're going to talk about the holding the ball rule. We're going to talk about the zones. Do you like the zones, the 666 zone? I don't know if I do, but we'll come to that in a sec. And the deliberate out of bounds or the rush behind rule. We're going to cover all that in today's episode. So let's get started, though. We're going to start with the holding the ball rule. And I'm going to throw to you, Paul, and I'm going to ask you this. The AFL cracked down a little bit on it last year. They sort of tweaked the rule a little bit, or at least the interpretation of it. The umpires started blowing the whistle a lot sooner. Did you like that adjustment? Do you think they went far enough, or what do you think needs to happen with that rule moving forward?
For the most part, I don't really care what they say they're going to do or what they do for brief periods of time or whatever, because the reality is that they crack down on something, whether it's holding the ball, whether it's stuff behind it, whatever it happens to be. And they stick with it for half a dozen weeks. And then there's something new that's in vogue. And that may be brought about by some big incident that occurs. And so that suddenly their focus shifts. Now we need to keep an eye out for the way players are shepherding off the ball or whatever it happens to be. And so that rule that they were focusing on suddenly becomes less of a focus. And so the consistency starts to wane. And then we end up back where we started again. So it's all well and good for them to say, yeah, okay, we're going to focus on holding the ball. We're going to talk about rush behinds. No, whatever it happens to be, it's fine. But without consistency, it doesn't faze me in the slightest. So it's annoying for those 5 or 6 weeks where maybe they've kind of got the expectations around that rule right where we want it to be, but then it inevitably fades as a focus down the line, and so I just end up getting frustrated again and rant.
It seems like they change a rule or mid-season most years these days. Kiri, what's your thoughts? Did you like the change last year? Where's your head at with it?
Well, I just think it's just an absolute farce. I just think the AFL has fully cooked the rule. I'm probably going to speak from a Geelong perspective, but I've seen so many Geelong games, especially home games at HBA, where we don't get the right calls. Legal tackle. What do we need to do to win a holding the ball call? And players are terrified of getting pinged as soon as they throw down onto the ground as well. It's just unattractive, sloppy football as well, and I think the mistake is we're having 4 umpires on the field as well. One umpire might think, oh, look, it's holding the ball. The other one's like, oh, no, it's not. It's like, just make up your mind at the same time as well. And I just think it's happening with too many umpires on the field as well. And, but that's just me. It's just like, and, the same bloody tackle with an opposition player, with an opposition from the opposition side. And it's a holding the ball. It's like what Paul said, just no consistency at all.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, how many umpires? I mean, they've added they got 4 now. Are they going to stay with 4? Who knows? Maybe they'll go back to 3 at one point. Back in the old days, they had 1, didn't they? I think
that's what it should be. Pulls too much.
They'll make them work. There's a few hamstrings being torn off the bone.
Exactly. Look, I used to get frustrated for the players. I think where my frustration was at, like they lay a tackle and they're throwing them to the ground and getting suspended because the umpire's not. They're laying a genuine tackle. The umpire's like, okay, keep playing. Like, I've laid a good tackle here. Are you going to reward me or not? And the only way they seem to get the umpire's attention is if they throw them to the ground, and that has resulted in 2 or 3 week suspensions pretty much every single time.
Which is why they're scared. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I was more than happy that they started blowing the whistle a little bit quicker. Because what it's going to do over time is force the play with the ball to move it on a bit quicker and not take on the tackler as much. I don't know how that's going to look in 2 or 3 years' time necessarily, because there's things you don't expect that will come out of that. But I was personally reasonably happy with the rule change. I think there's still a long way to go with it. I think another 12 months of seeing how it goes, or another season of seeing how that rule gets implemented. Just don't keep stuffing around with the rules mid-season. I don't think anyone likes that.
100%. Yeah.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. All right, that's the first one down. It's a good opportunity for me to thank the sponsor of our show, Cyril Cook Florist. I've got a little video here to play. There we go.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist, established in Geelong since 1915. Visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. That's Cook with an E. Give them a call on 035 222 2244 or mention the Hoops Crew to get yourself 20% off your next in-store purchase when you visit them at Shop 12, 11 Leather Street in Breakwater.
Thank you to Cyril Cook Florist, and horrible intro from me on that part. But yeah, excellent work too, Jake, on the narration there. You're very nice on that one. All right, next one. And can I stay with you on this one, Kiri? The 666 rule. This has been in the game for a little while now. At a centre bounce, the players all line up, 6 in the middle, 6 down back, and 6 up forward. Paul, you might know this, or Kiri, you might know it as well. It's been in, I feel like, about 5 years now, roughly.
Yes.
What do you think about that rule? Do you think it's actually having an impact on games? I think I heard a while ago that the scoring hasn't really increased a hell of a lot. I think that was the idea, to sort of free up the congestion a little bit. Do you like the look of it? Do you think it's worth sticking with? Do you think there's any more changes, Kiri, on this particular rule?
Personally, I absolutely love the 666 rule because, we spent like those 2 years of COVID ball game, just slow, boring, unattractive football. And that's what it was brought in for, to prevent flooding in the defensive side of the ground and, to help the offensive flow of the game. More open and cohesion in the forward line so the spare could run forward into space. And I think, you got teams like... you had teams like Richmond in the past. They benefited from it. And, Geelong as well. We won the flag because of that as well. We had our Tyson Stengels, our Brian Myers and Brad Close, our medium to small size forwards, benefiting from that game as well. Sean Manor, who's come in as well. But personally, I just think, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think, it's I think we should keep it for sure.
Paul, I know we sort of touched on this in another episode earlier in the year. I don't know if we talked about the 666 exactly like we're bringing it up now, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, I guess, generally. But was it you or was it Pommy that was talking about having an anchor in the goal square potentially?
Yeah,
yeah.
That was me, kind of, in terms of stretching the field a little bit and kind of getting that speed on the game. And yeah, I think 666 does that to an extent where it does kind of stretch the ground, which is kind of what we want to break it out. As Kiri was talking about, to break down the floods and those sorts of mechanisms that coaches have implemented over the years. The 666 does help that to a degree. Again, it's perfect for the starting bounce, and then after that, it kind of disappears because it's a bit of a free-for-all again. So, yeah, to give myself a little pat on the back, that anchor kind of idea, having 1 or 2 players one or two from each team locked to the forward 50 for any given time, I think does help support what the 6-6-6 was trying to achieve across the entirety of a match, not just at the centre bounce. So I think there's something to that. As a mechanic, I'm thrilled that they brought it in. I double checked. 2019 season was when it was first implemented. That's when they brought it in for. But look, there's still some work to be done, I think, in terms of allowing the game to have that speed and momentum all of the time. Because again, I think it's a great starting point, but then it does fall apart once the ball's been bounced. And any subsequent plays afterwards, it is just a free for all with players wherever. But it's a good starting point. It's something to build upon.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the start of a bounce, and the start of a quarter, I think it's worth sticking with that. Just to sort of explain to anyone who may not have seen the other video we recorded a few weeks back around those sort of forward and defensive anchors. Paul's not saying you can't go outside the forward 50 arcs.
Oh yeah.
But you've got to have. I think it was something like you got to have someone has to sort of be back there. So
yeah, I think it said something along the lines of, if 10 seconds have passed and you don't have two players still in there, then there's some sort of free kick or whatever.
There's there's
a grace period of sorts, where someone could be phasing out and the other can be phasing back in. It can be strategically can be used really, really well in the sense that you're probably making a very bold decision to have both forwards out of the 50 for any period of time. But you could have one kind of storming out as Danger's running back the other way, storming inside the 50, and he's going to make it within that 10-second window, so there's no issues at all. But you can kind of get a bit creative with how you're delivering the ball inside 50 there and get that extra body around it, whilst not breaking the systems. Yeah, I mean, there's some work to be done with it, and I was kind of making it up on the spot when we did it the other day, and now we've had Christmas and fairly heavy New Year's in the meantime there for me to really lose a general train of thought on that topic. But go me.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a great idea. I think go away and work it up a little bit more and present a paper. We'll present a paper to the AFL and we'll see what they say. But Kiri, it's a bit like you're a big basketball man, but it's a bit like the opposite of a 3-second violation in the key. Instead of staying in there too long, it's like, no, you've been out of there too long. So
absolutely.
It would really sort of anchor, I guess, 4 players, two attackers and 2 defenders at one end, and 2 attackers and 2 defenders at the other. 8 players in total are anchored at either end of the ground, and it sort of would free up the middle of the ground a little bit more. But maybe one of those ones that sounds, like maybe not everyone agrees, but I think it sounds good in theory at least. How it would play out, I don't know. I'd love to at least see it in a game of some kind, pre-season or something like that, to see how that goes. All right, the last topic for tonight is the deliberate behind, or and the deliberate out of bounds rule. Now, I've kind of combined this one because I feel like they're a little bit related, and I'm gonna take the first hit on this one. I'm gonna open this one up. I'm a big supporter of I think the umpires can go further in terms of penalising the last touch, the insufficient intent. I think we've started making moves in that direction. I'm talking about deliberate out of bounds here. I think if you haven't done enough to keep it in play, I think you've got to do absolutely everything, unless it takes a right angle turn. Shane Warne leg spinner somehow bounces in the other direction. Then sorry, it's a free kick. I think the deliberate behind, I think it's just that rule's too confusing for me. It's like, was he under pressure? Was he not under pressure? How about if you deliberately take it over the line, it's a free kick? How about we just keep it nice and simple? Same as if if you deliberately take it out of bounds, it's a free kick. I don't think we need to overcomplicate that one too much. Now, maybe I'm missing something here, and I'll throw to you, Kiri, to get your thoughts on that one. But do you think the two are related? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Throw it to you, mate.
Yeah, I do agree with the deliberate behind sort of rule. Like you've seen, I know this is going to bring up some bad memories. Like Hawthorn was known for doing that in the 2008 grand final. I think absolutely, if you're doing it tactically, if you're doing it deliberately, absolutely get penalised for a free kick, goal. But there's been a few instances like with the the insufficient attempt, like the out of bounds. I I remember watching the Essendon and Carlton game. There was this Essendon player. He tried to move the ball forward to keep the play alive, but umpire absolutely penalised him. And I just thought that just absolutely killed the momentum of the game. We're penalising players wanting to keep the game moving. Keep the ball rolling and stuff. And it just absolutely kills momentum with stoppage after stoppage as well. It's like, why can't we penalise these players by doing the deliberate behinds and all of that? And that probably goes back to like the holding the ball role as well. Changing the game every 5 minutes. If you want to make a set in stone, do a deliberate behind rule. But out of bounds. If the player's not deliberately kicking it out of bounds, then don't penalise him. But that's how I see it. But they just do as they please, the umpires, don't they? Like it happened the Geelong Gold Coast game in Darwin as well. The ball went in behind for a point, and the umpire was called it still in play, and they kicked a goal. Like look, to be fair, Gold Coast smashes, but they got away with Blue Burden, man. Like where's the consistency?
Can you believe that game, the Gold Coast game, exists in the same season that Geelong missed out on a grand final by 10 points? I can't believe that. The two different Geelong teams of that year. Paul, what are your thoughts on this one?
Look, it's an interesting one to have a conversation about deliberate rush behinds, considering we're all Geelong supporters, and ultimately that's what cost us 2008, right? Oh, and Stuart Dew, that arsehole. So, I don't know. I feel like we all kind of come with baggage as Geelong supporters when it comes to having this particular conversation, because we, unlike any other team in the comp, lost a grand final to that tactic. To Hawthorn's credit, they played it very, very well that day, but they made a rule change based on that cheating bullshit. And so, fuck you, Hawthorn supporters, for who pop up in the comments to contest that one. Beat me out all you like. We're far enough in. YouTube's not going to ping us anymore. So I don't mind I don't mind what they're going for with the rule. There is, and it goes back to what I said before with holding the ball. Consistency, I think, is the issue. And there are some grey areas that clearly haven't been worked out. And we've seen some of those rear their head over the course of the season. Obviously, Kiri, you just mentioned one a moment ago. There was plenty of others. Hell, I even think about, I guess, one that benefited us was Ollie Dempsey in the way he kind of really played. I think was it North that we're playing against? They got real cagey near the goal line, such that he was able to basically reef it out of their hands and then kick the goal because they were anxious about actually pulling the ball over the line. So there's pros and cons that there's swings and roundabouts, and we've won some and lost some. But I think consistency is the main problem that plagues not just this rule, but the entire AFL. Consistency is kind of the issue there. And then there's some grey areas that I think we're still working through at the moment. Players don't know what they can or can't do, which is not great about any sort of rules or laws in any sort of sport or just way of life, right? Like we know what we can and can't do for the most part within society. There's no grey area. If I just shoot him in the shoulder and don't, do any real damage, then maybe I'm going to get off. No, you shot someone. Like you're in all sorts. It's very black and white. Whereas, I can't believe I'm just drawing a comparison there between a footballing act. But like, there's no grey area. It's very black or white in terms of what you can and can't do. Whereas there are still shades of grey, and there's still confusion around the way things are going to be adjudicated, the way things are going to be treated, scrutinised, etc. And players are confused all the time. And this extends to bumps and tackles and all those sorts of things too. Like, there's so much confusion that's plaguing the game.
And it's never going to end. I think in 20 years' time, 30 years, 40 years, we'll still be talking about stupid rule changes. And umpires and cheating Hawthorn teams. And Hawthorn fans, if you are watching, I don't know why you are, but let us know what you think. Did you cheat? Yes, you did. That's it for us for another episode.
Cheating within the rules
of Summer Series. Make sure you join us next week. We'll be talking about all things competition. Won't go into it too much, but Kiri, love your work. Thanks for your debut tonight on Summer Series. Paul, as always, absolute legend. To anyone who's been watching, thank you very much. Don't forget, again, the like, subscribe button or buttons, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Go Cats.
See ya.
Go Cats.